Welcome back to my channel. It was a brisk morning in early 2019 when the presses at the West Point Mint roared to life, feeding blank planchets into powerful machines, striking them with clean, sharp designs. That year was different. For the first time, quarters bearing the W Mint mark would enter circulation. It was a subtle gesture meant to ignite excitement among collectors and the general public alike. A celebration of the U.S. Mint's legacy. But beneath that patriotic gesture, somewhere in the endless rhythm of metal and precision, an anomaly slipped past unseen. .5 Unique America, the beautiful designs were issued that year, all bearing an elusive W. Each design told its own story. Lowell, American Memorial Park, War in the Pacific, San Antonio Missions, and Frank Church River of No Return. And in those millions of coins, one bore a silent, shocking imperfection. An error so discreet that even seasoned numismatists dismissed it at first glance. It wasn't the kind of blunder that screamed for attention. No double dies, no glaring off-center strikes. But like all great secrets, its revelation came only to those willing to look twice. He was one such man. A retired schoolteacher from Kansas, Robert Langston had collected coins since the Nixon administration. On weekends, he'd sift through bank rolls, not for profit, but for the quiet satisfaction of discovery. That spring, a friend mentioned the new W. Mint quarters were starting to turn up and change. Langston's curiosity was piqued. After a quiet Saturday of unwrapping rolls and filling his sorting trays, he saw it, a 2019 San Antonio Missions quarter, shimmering with an odd brilliance. A W sat proudly below. "In God we trust." Yet, something about it was off. He tilted it against the light. The details seemed slightly blurred around the edges, as though the coin had been dipped in liquid light. His fingers froze. He held it closer. The letters on the obverse, subtle ghosting around. Liberty. A curious halo around Washington's jawline. Was it strike doubling? A worn die. The planchet, he noticed, bore a slight wave along the rim. He flipped the coin again and again. It had the luster of a freshly minted piece, yet its texture felt uneven, soft in strange places. Langston set it aside, skeptical of his own instinct. It wasn't the first time he'd mistaken a simple flaw for something rare. But that night, curiosity dragged him to his desk. Under magnification, the features became clearer, faint dye-polished lines crisscrossing the portrait like veins, a weak strike around the cross on the mission's facade. And then, the strangest detail of all, under intense lighting, parts of the design seemed thinner, recessed almost unnaturally, as if the coin had been struck on a planchet not fully formed. He posted the images in a private online coin forum. Reactions varied. Some dismissed it as a minor flaw. Others, more seasoned, asked for more pictures. And then, a reply from a collector in Ohio. Asterisk. I have one too. Identical pattern. Asterisk. Within days, two more surfaced. Each bore the W. Mint mark. Each was a 2019 San Antonio Missions quarter. Each had the same unnatural glow, the same odd recesses. Langston's pulse quickened. This wasn't an isolated defect. It was a pattern. Collectors speculated feverishly. Could this be a transitional planchet error? Or perhaps a substandard alloy blend? As weeks passed, the theory emerged. Some of the quarters may have been mistakenly struck on experimental blanks, possibly leftover planchets intended for an entirely different coinage project. Rumors whispered of a small batch of planchets with altered copper-nickel composition, tested for a stillborn redesign of the quarter series. The rarity of the error made confirmation difficult. Fewer than 10 known specimens emerged by late summer, all traced back to circulation, all marked with the same enigmatic traits. They weren't flashy errors. No off-centering. No broad strikes. They were elegant in their subtlety. And therein lay their power. At coin shows, whispers began to circulate. The ghost W, some called it, referring to the faint blurring effect around the mint mark. Dealers became wary. One offered Langston $800 on the spot. No questions, no receipts. He declined. Another proposed a trade, 3 silver eagles and a pristine 1950D nickel. Langston declined again. Online auction sites began listing the coin, but with hesitation. Most entries were removed within hours, often flagged or pulled by sellers after second thoughts. No one could pin down a value. Was it worth hundreds? Thousands? The mystery itself became the currency. And then came the first shock. A specimen, nearly identical to Langston's, surfaced at a smaller Midwest auction house. It was mislisted as a struck through grease error. A savvy bidder, anonymous at the time, snapped it up for $210. Within days, that coin was relisted privately, commanding offers exceeding $500. And it sold. Langston watched from a distance, aware now that what he had discovered was no minor flaw. What he held was a mutation, a coin born from an unintended union of materials and timing. A silent fingerprint of the mint's secret experiments, exposed by accident and kept alive by curiosity. Then came the twist. A researcher with access to internal mint reports, whose identity remained veiled behind a forum pseudonym, claimed to have discovered a quiet reference to low-volume multi-metallic planchet strikes, conducted at West Point in early 2019. The document, he claimed, was buried among broader test data relating to a now-abandoned mint initiative codenamed Pioneer Series. The idea was to test environmentally friendly alloys using existing quarter dies, but only a limited number were ever struck. According to this unnamed source, those blanks were supposed to be recycled, destroyed, but a handful went missing. Or rather, they were mistakenly funneled into the regular production line just as the W quarters launched. No official admission, no press release, just the unexplained emergence of these luminous errors. Langston's coin, he realized, wasn't just rare, it was born from a discarded experiment. A failed idea smuggled into circulation by accident. That changed everything. Collectors began scouring their change, bank rolls, estate sales, gas station coin trays. Reports of new finds dwindled. The total known population? 11. One verified through NGC, graded MS67, fetched a staggering $6,200 in a private sale brokered discreetly through a numismatic consultancy in New York. Another, slightly worn but still showing the telltale traits, sold on eBay for $3,850, quietly labeled W experimental, and gone within hours. Langston kept his. Offers came $5,000, then $7,200. A final offer of $9,500 arrived handwritten, enclosed in a padded envelope with no return address. He never responded. The coin remained locked in a display case, nestled beside his war nickels and proof sets. But its meaning had shifted. It wasn't just a quarter. It was a story. A question mark etched into metal. As 2020 arrived, the U.S. Mint made no reference to the error. No confirmation. No denial. Silence only deepened the mystery, and prices crept upward. Collectors whispered that a dozen more were out there, yet unseen. Perhaps sitting in drawers, in jars, in glove compartments. The coin's value had become more than monetary. It was emotional, mythic, a puzzle with no clear edge. And then, a final, bizarre twist. A coin dealer from Nevada reported a find unlike the others. A 2019 W San Antonio quarter, but struck off metal. Tests confirmed a gold-tinted surface. Not gold plating. Not environmental staining. A full planchet with elevated levels of manganese and zinc, not standard for circulating quarters. Speculation exploded. Was this part of a new alloy test? Or something else? Some said counterfeit, others experimental. But the diagnostics were clean. This coin, too, had come from the West Point Mint. Its edge bore the same softness, The same spectral shine.it sold for $14, 200 at a closed-door auction. Its buyer requested anonymity, but rumors say it was acquired by a former U.S. Mint executive. Langston heard the news and smiled quietly. In his hands, he held a whisper from the Mint's forgotten trial. Not glamorous, not headline-worthy, but pure. A sliver of history that had evaded every safeguard, every inspection. A coin that should not exist, yet did. And in the dim light of his study, beneath the hum of a flickering desk lamp, he flipped the coin one last time and watched it catch the light, soft, mysterious, and utterly unique.